We are back with you live once again on another Johnny Torch Live broadcast. Welcome in on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live. Episode number 192. Yes, as we climb ever slowly to our big 200th episode of the live show. And we are on Torch News Roundup number 168 today. We're going to be talking all kinds of stuff. Good stuff, bad stuff. Stuff you're going to like, stuff you're not going to like. All of it. It's going to be a smorgasbord. And first off, we want to welcome you in. Check out the link in the description below for The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, Private Eye, the action-adventure saga like none other, where we have our down-on-his-luck protagonist, a Private Eye, taking on the most colorful collection of villains imaginable, such as Carrot Top, as you see right before you there. Oh, he's so smug. And this is the most recent offering we've got in the saga, which is the collection, the graphic novel collection of When the Night Comes, the story arc that teams up Bullets Bourbon's two most dangerous adversaries, the nefarious criminal mastermind Carrot Top with the demented and equally menacing Pencil Neck, he who makes his enemies disappear. And they are joining forces with world domination as their goal. With the fate of the free world hanging in the balance, Bullets is recruited by a top-secret government agency to put an end to the chicanery of said villains. So if that doesn't jazz you for that story, I don't know what will. We also have recently remastered the graphic novel Knock on Wood, which of course is the introduction of Pencil Neck as one of our main villains. And we are working now very diligently on the first remaster, which is It's Always Something. That's the title. And that is the introduction to the world of Bullets Bourbon, and Carrot Top is our main antagonist to the series. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun. The work is coming along somewhat slowly, because it being my first comic that I ever created, it needed to, be touched up a little bit more than some of the other ones that I've done. But once I get the right now we're working on the lettering and some of the editing, fixing it up somewhat. Once we get through with that, it'll get done at a much steadier pace. The coloring will be next, and that should only take me, I don't like to make predictions, but probably about a month. Then, after my editor gets a hold of it, probably another month after that, it should be ready for print. So I'm looking at mid-April, hopefully, having this project finished. And of course, we still have to go on to the 7th issue, which I've already touted at the end of the When the Night Comes story, which is going to be The Family Jewels. It's titled The Family Jewels because Carrot Top returns home to his family, his father, the very powerful Don Parsnip Top, head of the Vegetable Garden Gang, as he goes to war with the fruit salad mob as they prepare to go to war over a priceless antique statue. A statuette, actually. And, of course, that is going to be very exciting. I'm looking forward to getting to work on that storyline. Probably sometime in the spring I'll be able to work on that. But production still goes well on the Bullets Bourbon remaster. And, of course, I want to make sure these issues are remastered and ready to go because, I really want to push for distribution, maybe getting a publisher this year. I'm holding the possibility open, but I definitely want to get distribution to be a main goal this year and try to get the book in as many hands as possible. Again, I'm still toying with an Indiegogo. Not sure, but I want to take my time with it, especially because supposedly, January, February is not really a great time for launching Kickstarters and so forth. So I'm not going to rush it, but I'm hoping to within the next month we will see some progress on that. Hopefully, maybe get it out for the first issue, because I didn't really do it for the second issue and the second remaster, and I'm considering whether I should do one for the second remaster or just go straight for the first remaster and offer all 3 remasters on various tiers. So, once again, check the link in the description below for The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, the action-adventure saga, penned by yours truly. And also check the website for my upcoming convention appearances. We have a couple others in the works that I can't formally announce yet, but look for those to be updated as well in the future. And we have, let's see, this is our first big broadcast of February, my favorite month of the year because it's my birthday month. And we have a leap year this year, so we got an extra day in February, so that's wonderful. So if you want to give me an early birthday present, head on over to my website and check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, and you will not be disappointed. Let's see, also tomorrow we are on the eve of Groundhog Day. If you if you celebrate such an occasion as I do, let me know what you think in the comments below. Will the groundhog see his shadow? I am saying no, he's not going to see his shadow. I think it's going to be an early spring. And let me know what you think in the comments below if you agree. And you can also check out the link in the description below for my Twitter page. You can always leave me a comment there, whether you think... It used to be Puxatawny Phil. I don't know what the name of the groundhog is anymore that is overseeing this sacred and solemn duty. Also, we are on the eve of Super Bowl 54, where the Kansas City Chiefs will be taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Patrick Mahomes getting his first shot at the big game, as is Jimmy Garoppolo. And I will give you my prediction right now for Super Bowl 54. I see, as a prognosticator of football, I don't know if my win-loss record is too too trustworthy, but I am going to go with the San Francisco 49ers winning Super Bowl 54 with a score of 42-38. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think both have extremely great offenses. I think the 49ers have a slightly better defense. They have a slightly better running game. I think that's what tips the scale in their favor. Of course, Jimmy G, a former Patriot, and, you know, us Patriots fans up here in the New England area are, you know, somewhat partial to the lad as well, possibly want to see Jimmy G do good. So that is my prediction. The 49ers are going to win. But the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, are a great team. I could see this going either way. This is not going to be one of those seasons where it's like, well, how did this matchup come to be? You know what I mean? The Chiefs are the real deal. Could very easily take this one. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be decided possibly less than a touchdown. And Patrick Mahomes is also a great quarterback. I'm sure he'll be here again, even if he doesn't win this time. But again, it should be a very exciting contest, and I am looking forward to watching it tomorrow as a football fan. Of course, also sad news this past week with the passing of Kobe Bryant last Sunday. I'm a basketball fan, and as I said on Twitter, even though I am a New England resident, I am a Lakers fan, and my brother, of course, also a Lakers fan. So, you know, heartfelt condolences to Kobe's family and this terrible tragedy that he and his daughter both died in a terrible helicopter crash. And, of course, Kobe being one of, if not the greatest basketball player in the history of the NBA. Very sad to hear that. And at first, I wasn't even sure it was true. It didn't sound like something that, you know, would have been the way you'd expect, you know, things to turn out. Of course, a great player from his high school years up to the NBA, a multiple champion. And again, just terrible. It's a terrible tragedy, and our condolences go to the family of Kobe Bryant, and I'm sure all his many, many multitudinous fans. are also grieving this past week, and will continue to for the remainder of the season. I know that the NBA is, paying tribute to him largely in every game that's being played the rest of the season. All right, so let us continue on now with something far less somber. Let us continue on with the show, and I got the chat room open as well for those of you who want to pop in, say hi, and then drop out like you usually do. But hey, I am happy for each and every view I get. I am happy for each and every person who watches the stream after the fact. I'm happy for all you guys that just, take the time to just say hi. And we're going to go straight to that right now with a mailbag segment. Mailbag! Where I will read some of the comments left on some of my more popular videos. My reviews are, of course, the more popular ones. I did a review of the Arrow season finale, which didn't exactly blow up as big as the Crisis on Infinite Earths ones I did. But check that out if you want a retrospective somewhat. It's only about a, 45-minute video or something like that. So we don't go too deep into it, but we go over the whole history of Arrow and how it ended, and I was pretty pleased with the finale. I thought it came off quite well. But here we are, mailbag. Reaching deep within the mailbag, I will pull out 2 comments that I've received 4 days ago. Both these guys hit me up on 4 days ago. So let's check it out. Let's see. First, I've got one from Angel Feliciano. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And he or she left a comment on my Wonder Woman retrospective, which is, again, one of my most popular videos. Not too many people sat down and watched and reviewed the entire Wonder Woman series and then put up a review on YouTube. I am one of those. And I think that's why it's very popular. It surpassed my Phantom of the Opera 1943 video, which, again, is one of my most popular videos. So check them out if you're so inclined. But Angel says, Mind Stealers from Outer Space is my favorite episode from this series. The duel at the end between Wonder Woman and the Zardor was pretty fun to watch. And I agree. That was one of my favorites. Let's see. That was probably, I forget, what was that? Season 2, I know that much, but I forget where I placed that on my top 5 episodes of the season. That one was obviously a tribute to the very popular Star Wars that had just come out at the time. The mask looking somewhat Darth Vader-ish, and, having him be more of a brute like the Incredible Hulk, which, I don't know, at that point had, I believe it had also hit the airwaves. So that was, that was a very good one. Of course, Wonder Woman didn't get too many villains that were worthy of her power. That was why it was so important when characters like Formicida and the Zardor came into play. It was a stunning moment, you know what I mean? It really took your attention and said, wow, Wonder Woman's finally gonna, she's gonna have a hard time here finally. She's not gonna just have a couple of guys with guns that she'll just, like, backhand and send sprawling. So, yeah, those episodes were a lot of fun, and thank you, Angel, once again, for the comment. Thank you for the view. Another comment here from another one of my videos that has also become pretty popular in recent time. The Return of the Vampire, Johnny Torch's classic horror reviews. Again, I want to get back to doing these videos. Again, I'm torn between wanting to do videos and be a YouTuber and wanting to do the cartooning. But I am a cartoonist first, and so when I try to take the time out to learn a software that has to do with YouTube and stuff, it takes away from the time that I have to cartoon. That's the only reason why I don't really apply myself as much as I used to. I blame YouTube, honestly, for taking the tools away from me that made it so easy for me to do. But like I said, now to try to relearn these skills with a new software, it takes time that I don't really have. Because, again, I'm trying to make comics and make them the best I can. And, you know, to take time away from that, because it's a one-man operation. I do all the work myself. I draw, I write, I letter, I ink, I color, and basically the last step, which is like formatting pages and doing all that technical stuff, I farm out. But like I said, when you have that on your plate, when you have like 15 hats you have to wear in order to produce a comic book, you don't have time really to take to learn a software, edit a video so that it's like, you know, cinematic quality. I don't have the time for that stuff. So again, I really am pleased when I see people giving me likes and giving me views and giving me comments on these videos that I did when I had the time and ability to edit videos quickly. Really wish I could get back to that. Don't know how much I wish I could, but I imagine at some point I will take a break once I, you know, start getting things a little bit more. I've produced the comics a lot more quickly in the past 2 years than I ever have. So we are on path to make these comics come out a lot more regularly. I got 4 books out in the past calendar year. That is pretty good. That is getting productivity out, you know, and getting these books out the door a lot faster than I ever did, which was basically 1 book a year. So again, I digress, but when I see the popularity that my old videos have in comparison with the new stuff that I do, which is just basically a couple of live streams a week, you know, it disappoints me that I don't get as much feedback. So Dark Wolf gave me a comment on my Return of the Vampire video review, and he says, I have it on DVD, meaning Return of the Vampire, the movie, and I believe that it's been released on Blu-ray this past year. So I thank you for bringing that to my attention. See, when I made the video, it was about 4 years ago, and it was not on DVD. But I even wrote back to Dark Wolf saying I got it on DVD as well about 2 years ago myself, so it is out there now. I wasn't aware about the Blu-ray though, and again, thanks for watching. So thank you to Dark Wolf and everybody out there. Yeah, I should go back and see if I can pin this comment. I got to go back and take some time to see if I can do that, so people will be up to date now with if they want to buy Return of the Vampire. It is now out on DVD because I do own it myself, and it's a great movie. If you're a fan of Bela Lugosi and the the Dracula character that he so well represented, it is pretty much represented here in Return of the Vampire. He's kind of playing the same role, although of course it is not technically Dracula. But if you want a headcanon sequel to Dracula, you probably could do a lot worse than to check that one out. Alright, so thank you once again to all my mailbag commenters. Thank you for commenting, and of course, check out the comments below and let me know what you think about these various topics. Alright, we got a bunch of them that we're going to get to. Let's see, our first one is the lovely Emily Blunt is in the news, and it is because supposedly she is going to be meeting with Marvel for a new character that she would portray in the MCU. Let's see. I'll read the copy here. We don't have much to go on, but Charles Murphy of Murphy's Multiverse has heard that while filming Disney's Jungle Cruise, Emily Blunt met with Marvel Studios about an undisclosed role in an upcoming film. This has led to speculation that Blunt may be lined up for the role of Clea in Doctor Strange 2, and of course there's the contingent of fans that have convinced themselves that she's going to play Sue Storm in the currently non-existent Fantastic Four reboot. Right now, it's all up in the air, and Murphy admits that he came by this information a while ago, so even if she was in talks, it's possible that nothing came of it. This is still a rumor worth keeping an eye on, however, as the source has some scoops pan out in the past, and as previously mentioned, Blunt was up for a supporting role in Iron Man 3 a few years back, I wasn't aware of that. She was up for a role in Iron Man 3. And she had also narrowly missed out on playing both Black Widow and Peggy Carter. See, I'm aware of Black Widow. I didn't know they wanted her for Peggy Carter, but apparently they want her pretty bad. And who wouldn't? But, yeah, Marvel really wants her to play a character. And I suppose I could have seen her as any of those characters that were mentioned. I suppose, you know, Black Widow, they went a completely different way with Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I could see Blunt playing Black Widow, but not the way, probably not the way Scarlett has. Peggy Carter is probably much more suitable, but then again, you're kind of wasting an A-list talent on a, well, that's not to take any, you know, swipes at the casting of Peggy, but that's a character that obviously went by the wayside pretty early on. I mean, she got her own television series that they unfortunately couldn't keep going. I was a fan of it, though. What do I think? We're going to talk more about Doctor Strange in a second, so we'll get to that in a moment. But everybody wants her to play Sue Storm, and I could see it. I think she'd play a great Sue Storm. She's probably age-appropriate for Sue Storm as well, because I think, you know, to me, Sue Storm is the MC, you know, the Marvel Universe's soccer mom. You know what I mean? I think, you know, when they cast Jessica Alba as her, I could see, you know, as a young Sue Storm, that kind of might be what you're looking for. But I would go straight out the gate for the, you know, the motherly Susan Storm, you know, that has Franklin and certainly Franklin, but possibly even Valeria at the time we meet her. I would go, you know, maybe just flashback for the origin, you know what I mean? You don't really need to go deep dive into the origin of the Fantastic Four. You could, you know, maybe do a time displacement story, something like that. I know a lot of people want to set them in the 60s. I don't particularly like that story, but, or that idea, but, you know, it's possible. You can do any number of a lot of things, and Emily Blunt would be a very good Sue Storm. My choice for her, though, however, would be Shauna. Yeah, that's something you're never going to see. You're never going to see Shauna in the MCU. Never gonna happen. But that's what I would cast her as, the wife of Khazar. I always say Khazar because that's the way I frenetically learned it as a child. I don't know. Some people say Khazar. Is that how you're supposed to pronounce it? Let me know in the comments below. Is it Khazar? Is that how you pronounced it? But then, of course, as a kid, I always said Conan. Because as learning to read, it kind of looks like Conan. And then really, I learned, obviously, it's Conan. So this is probably another place where I stand corrected. I need to be corrected. It's Khazar. Khazar. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't see Emily Blunt wearing the Shauna of the Jungle costume. I definitely don't see that being the costume used for any version of Shauna in the MCU. They are just not going there. And I am sure, though, however, as I said on Twitter, if they do use Khazar in any of these films, any of the upcoming slate, they will have him in the loincloth. They will have him shirtless. You can make bank on that, but they will never have so revealing a costume in the MCU for a female character. And again, this is just being faithful to the character. You be faithful to the comic. You know, this is the same thing that's happened with the Tarzan films. Name me any Tarzan film going back to Tarzan and his mate, where Jane was dressed as skimpily as Tarzan. There was the Hays Code backlash where she, you know, Maureen O'Sullivan was wearing decidedly less than the you know, the Catholic Society of America wanted back then scene. And they made her this big tailored outfit that she wore for the remainder of that series. And then, of course, going even as recent as, well, there was the Disney cartoon where, again, Jane was, you know, basically dressed completely, you know, as the English gentlewoman that she is. And going back as far as Margot Robbie's Jane in Tarzan and Jane, or whatever that movie was called. Not a bad movie either, really. I didn't think it was that bad, but again, Jane is, again, completely dressed to the hilt. And it's that, it started in that sort of conservatism, I guess, that, you know, in the 30s or whatever, but then it just continued on now to the feminism and SJWism, which will, you know, will completely and forever keep our female superheroines from wearing, you know, the revealing superhero costumes, or superheroine costumes, I should say, that was at least at one time deemed popular in the comics. A lot of people, you know, to kind of spin off this, we're talking about costumes, and I already did a video on that. You can check it up on my channel as well, in the soapbox section, where it's about how the female superheroine costume has died an ugly death, and especially the MCU. This is something that's come up too recently with the Birds of Prey movie. A lot of people are complaining about the Birds of Prey costumes not being sexy enough, and so on as well. I don't really know if that's as big a concern as a lot of people are making it out to be, because Harley Quinn's costume originally is pretty tame. Her original costume in the animated series is just the one-piece jumpsuit that, you know, while it's cute and all, it's not really sexy. So now when you show a Harley just wearing shorts and a tank top, to me that's not really... some people are treating it like they're practically putting her in a burqa. You know what I mean? It's kind of an exaggeration, I think. I think the MCU is the place where they have these, you know, a stigma on the male gaze, as it's called. The DCEU, though, is, you know, still guilty of it to an extent, of course. I mean, Black Canary is never going to wear the fishnet stockings, and the Huntress is probably never going to have the exposed belly costume. So, you know, that's a thing. That's a thing we need to overcome, just like race-changing characters. Again, that's flared up a bit in the past week, because, of course, the Birds of Prey is coming out soon with a race-changed Black Canary. Johnnie Smollett, I believe, is playing her. And, again, I am a big opponent of that as well. I believe in fidelity to the actual comic. It's a visual medium, comics are. And as I always say, Eric July is always, I always recommend watching his videos and live streams as well. I'm a big fan of his as well, because he will also get right to the point, which is, it's a visual medium. The character as depicted is half the character. You react to the character visually first and foremost, and if the character is white, the character should stay white. If the character is black, the character should stay black. If the character is wearing a revealing costume, like in the case of Tarzan or Shauna, they should continue to wear the revealing costume. Whatever. That is what you need to have fidelity to, and I'm sure longtime viewers of the show have heard me have rants in excess of 30 minutes on the topic. But, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Who do you want to see Emily Blunt play? Should she play in the MCU universe as a Marvel character? There's a lot of possibilities still there. I mean, she's kind of missed out on a lot of the big names, I guess, at this point, where I suppose Sue Storm is probably the last big-named character that she could portray. Alright, so let me know in the comments below. And moving right along here to yet another lovely, lovely actress. Let's see, Margot Robbie is being in talks, once again, with Disney. They're talking to everyone. She's in talks to play Tinkerbell in a live-action Peter Pan remake. Perfect casting, if you ask me. But is there nothing that Margot Robbie cannot play? That is the question. She's done it all. She's done, you know, Tanya Harding. She's done Elizabeth, Queen Elizabeth, the first, I guess. I don't know. She's done Harley Quinn. a much different character. Of course, Sharon Tate in the recent Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And she's also pegged to play Barbie, I believe, coming up relatively soon. I'm not sure when that's coming out. But, yeah, Tinkerbell. And yet again, this is a Disney project, so she's not going to wear the Tinkerbell dress, the miniskirt or whatever. They're going to, I guarantee you, they're going to ruin Tinkerbell with whatever version they make of this. It's probably not going to be as accurate. You know, Hook, where it was played by Julia Roberts, Tinkerbell. They even tried, I think, to do a reasonably accurate version of Tinkerbell. So, I don't know. The onus is on Disney. Come on, give us the actual Tinkerbell. You know, the actual costume and so forth. It's iconic, actually. I am not a big fan of making live-action versions of these Disney films. Varying degrees of success. I've seen a couple of them. I've seen The Jungle Book. I've seen Aladdin, because those are two of my favorite, you know, animated versions. I haven't seen all of Beauty and the Beast. I think I caught, like, the last 5 minutes of it or something, so I didn't get a chance to see it all. Ditto Cinderella, I've seen, like, the last 5 minutes of it. But there really isn't anything to really convince me that this is a really necessary, you know, thing to do. I've always said I liked it better when they were trying to do animated sequels. And you got some were good, some were bad. I mean, Cinderella 3 was like it was an interesting story. I had to admit it. They had me interested. Other things like, I don't know, like Beauty and the Beast sequel they tried to do, it wasn't as entertaining. The Little Mermaid sequels were varyingly, you know, okay to not so good. But when you're trying to completely remake a film that's a classic in animation, especially at this juncture where the SJWs have completely taken over, like I said, with you know, the costuming and the casting, it's almost a miracle that they've gone to Margot Robbie, who actually looks like Tinkerbell for this role. Again, well, let me read the copy here before we wrap up the story. But let's see. I would like to see what maybe the MCU could do with Margot Robbie. You know what I mean? Again, we're talking about comic accurate casting. There are probably still a couple of characters that she would fit the role quite well, and they haven't looked at her, I guess possibly because maybe she's too well known as Harley Quinn at this point. We'll see. Let's see. Disney's live-action reboots did extremely well in 2019, as both Aladdin and The Lion King ultimately grossed over $1 billion each worldwide. Of course, they don't mention Dumbo, which also came out last year, which I guess didn't do as well, but I digress. The studio is reportedly looking to start work on their live-action adaptation of Peter Pan, which is now titled Peter Pan and Wendy. Another one they did last year, didn't they also do Lady and the Tramp? But that came out only on Disney+. So that is an interesting thing. They're starting to back off on wanting to get these as live-action, as theatrical releases, I should say. According to the Illuminati, these people, again, I don't even know how to pronounce this name, the Illuminati, Disney is hoping to add some big names to the project, and Birds of Prey star Margot Robbie is now being eyed for the role of Tinkerbell. It's not clear whether she's actually in any sort of talks with the studio, but this sounds like a perfect fit and definitely a role easy to imagine the Harley Quinn actress being well suited to. Excuse me. Which is probably why it's a rumor and not going to happen. But we'll see. We will definitely see. Alright, so let me know what you think in the comments below about Margot Robbie, the lovely Margot Robbie's possibly portraying Tinkerbell in Peter Pan and Wendy. Alright, next up, we got some Doctor Strange rumor news from the Illuminati again. They seem to get all this news lately, I don't know. As I said before, Doctor Strange, I'm a big fan of that movie. Despite they did some race and gender changes to some of these characters, the Ancient One, of course, being an old Tibetan man, is now a younger English woman. Baron Mordo, of course, race changed. So, they got kind of a strike on them for not really being as faithful to the comics, but I really like Benedict Cumberbatch. I like what he did with the role. I like Rachel McAdams, right? She played opposite him in that. I was surprised that I liked her as much as I did. I kind of thought to myself, well, this is a thankless role, right? This is not really a relationship that's going to go anywhere. The guy's the Sorcerer Supreme. He's going to jump in and out of dimensions and limbo and this and that, and they're not really going to... It's kind of how you don't tie Green Lantern to Earth, you know what I mean? You kind of have to have all his peripheral characters join him in space and stuff. It's kind of that way here, and that's why I felt bad that I don't think Rachel McAdams is going to go very far in the Doctor Strange sequels, but we will see. Well, let's wait and see before we cast our die on the shores. All right, so let's see. The Illuminati is reporting that Brother Voodoo will have a role to play in Doctor Strange in the Madness of the Multiverse. Is that what it's called? Again, I always say it backwards. Is it the Multiverse of Madness? Yeah, the Multiverse of Madness. I always call it the Madness of the Multiverse. I think that's a better title. Doesn't that sound like a better title? The Madness of the Multiverse. No, Into the Multiverse of Madness. Okay. Let's see. A casting call has gone out searching for a supporting male lead between the ages of 27 and 42 to play a character of Caribbean/Haitian descent. There aren't many established Marvel characters who fit that description, and the site claims to have confirmed that this is indeed Jericho Drum, a.k.a. Brother Voodoo. This is pretty cool. I'm not too familiar with Doctor Strange. I don't know who this character is, but let me see. Brother Voodoo has proven to be a loyal ally of Stephen Strange many times in the comics and actually held the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme himself at one point. More recently, he is romantically involved with Scarlet Witch, so we may see sparks fly with Wanda in the film. I don't know, it might be a little too soon for that, right? I mean, she's just getting over the Vision, the passing of the Vision, and of course the WandaVision is going to be out. I don't think they go that far by setting her up with someone else yet. I mean, you know, in the future it's possible, I don't know. I still think there is more to be told with the Vision. I'm kind of hoping that WandaVision, you know, spins off a couple of seasons that we get to see them together. We didn't get too much of them. I suppose we got, you know, as much as could be expected, seeing as how they didn't front a film of their own. Let's see. Also, in addition to a bunch of other new faces to be debuted, allegedly, in the Multiverse of Madness, including Miss America Chavez, Illuminati is also reporting that Clea will also have a role to play as well. A casting call went out for the movie, and they are searching for a female lead between the ages of 27 and 42 of open ethnicity. Oh, of course, if it's a white character, it's always of open ethnicity. You know, it's just the way it is. If you're white in the comics, that's just a temporary placeholder, you know. That's what I always object to. It's the thought that being white is sort of the default setting. It's, you know, that's just a placeholder for whenever we can fill the role up with somebody else if we possibly can. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but basically that's what you'll find all these casting calls are. They're all open casting for a white character, and then when it's a POC or whatever else, they'll make it specified for that, you know, what they're looking for. Let's see. They're searching for a female lead between the ages of 27 and 42. That's a pretty wide berth, too. Both of these characters, Brother Voodoo and her, they don't care about narrowing it down, I suppose. A female lead between 27 and 42 of open ethnicity with leading lady qualities. The site claims to have confirmed that this is indeed Stephen Strange's on-again, off-again love interest, Clea. Although Clea eventually becomes one of the Sorcerer Supreme's most powerful allies in the comics, there's a chance she could play an antagonist role in the movie initially. After all, she is the niece of the Dread Dormammu himself, so she may stand in Strange's way should he venture into the dark dimensions again. Again, this is all garbage tier because I'm trying to read this without reading any of the mistakes made. But hey, you know, it happens. As someone who is remastering their comics because of spelling errors and stuff. It happens. The Illuminati reckon also that Chiwetel Ejiofor will indeed reprise the role of Baron Mordo in the Marvel sequel as well. It's said that he will be one of the 5 major characters at the core of the story. Doctor Strange 2 is still currently without a director. Marvel will need to find a replacement pretty soon for Scott Derrickson. So, what are your feelings on Doctor Strange 2? Let me get this right. Where is it again? In the Multiverse of Madness. Sounds exciting. Sounds interesting. I don't know. Time will tell. I like the sound of it so far. Scarlet Witch, always welcome. Elizabeth Olsen, always welcome to see more of her. We're going to see Doctor Strange back in action. I want to see what's going on with Baron Mordo as well. Mordo. I wonder how many times I've made that mistake. But Baron Mordo, interesting character that I don't think they did justice to in the first film. They gave him a heel turn that I don't think he earned. And I want to see that. He was kind of, I found it weird because it was like, he's like, y'all are playing with this magic and stuff, and I'm too pure for that. I'm too pure for playing with the dark arts and this and that. So I don't believe in you guys anymore. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over to the dark side. That's the way it played for me. I don't really get why he was going rogue. He was acting like he was too pure for the dark arts, but then again, he becomes pretty much enmeshed in the dark arts when he leaves the Doctor Strange and the I don't know, the Ancient One's tribunal there or whatever. All right, so there you go. There you have it. There's your Doctor Strange 2 update. All right, this is a very interesting turn of events that happened here with Star Wars Underworld. We're going to close out the show with some Star Wars talk here. Star Wars Underworld, not to be confused with Star Wars Underwear, which I'm sure many of you own. Yeah, a clip leaked, and it's a very interesting look at what was going to be George Lucas' next project had he retained control of Star Wars. They took a long time working on this. I think, I don't know, 10 years before he sold the company, where they were going to try to make a Star Wars television show with, hopefully a budget that would, make it look like it belonged alongside the movies. And it was going to be about the seedy underbelly of the Star Wars universe. It was going to take place, I think, largely on Coruscant. And it was going to take place between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And the clip, I'm not going to play the clip. I don't want to risk, copyright stuff. But apparently it was about a woman, an attractive woman, in a short skirt, so we know that it would never take place in Disney's Star Wars. But I don't know if she was supposed to be a Jedi hiding out. She had a hood and everything. Pretty cool looking. And I'm not sure if it was just a model. I don't know if this was the actress they were going to use, because they seem to have dubbed over her lines with just generic lines like, we need to get through that door, or whatever it was, stuff like that. And we also had stormtroopers dressed as they were in the original trilogy, and they too were kind of pantomiming, I guess allegedly going to be dubbed over with lines like, hey you, clear out over there, and pantomiming wildly. It looked pretty good. It looked like something to whet the appetite. But there really wasn't anything solid there for us to really know what the show would have been about. The stormtroopers trying to ensnare a rogue Jedi that was trying to make deals with some kind of, I don't know, an arms dealer or a shuttle captain or something. Very interesting. You should check it out. I'm probably too lazy to try to find the link and put it in the description, but I'm sure if you Google, Google is your friend. If you Google Star Wars Underworld clip, you'll probably find it, and it's worth checking out. Let me see the copy here if there's anything worth talking about. The first live-action Star Wars TV series came our way last year in the form of The Mandalorian, but that's not the first time Lucasfilm considered a small-screen take on the galaxy far, far away. Before Disney purchased the studio for $4 billion, George Lucas was working on Star Wars Underworld, a show that was going to be set between the events of Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, which chronicled the rise of the Empire. 50 scripts were written, and the initial plan was for there to be 142-minute installments. Thanks to budgetary concerns, however, it never ended up happening. It's clear now that there are no plans for Star Wars Underworld to see the light of day, but some test footage is leaked online, giving us an idea of what the show would have looked like. And, yeah, that's about it. There you have it. Check it out for yourself. I remember there was talk about, and there is a video. If you see a video in the, what do they call it, in the thread I've got of Torch News Roundups. Go early on and you'll see one of Palpatine from The Phantom Menace as the thumbnail. And that's where we got some behind-the-scenes info about what the show was going to be about. And supposedly they were going to do a story about Palpatine and how he turned to the dark side and how it was over the love of a woman that spurned him and just completely destroyed his world. And that's how he... So apparently Ian McDiarmid would probably have come back for this series to play Palpatine. And we may have even gotten a cameo out of him. I mean, a flashback cameo of him as... Well, I don't know how young. Maybe they could have de-aged him with technology. But, I mean, the suggestion seems to be that he would have been a young man. That, he was spurned and he ended up joining the dark side, and that it was supposed to be this like heart-wrenching story. I'm not sure how well that would have gone over with fans who kind of see him, the Emperor is sort of the Satan of the Star Wars universe, giving him sort of like yet another, sob story on why he's the hero of his own story and why he's the, the bad guy, but, he's got motives that are really, right, but he's going about it the wrong way. I really didn't need to see that in Star Wars, but supposedly this was a George Lucas project, so, you never know. This could have been good. Unlike all the non-Star Wars, all the non-George Lucas Star Wars projects that have been out recently. And we closed the story. Let me know what you think. Were you excited to see the Star Wars Underworld clip? Were you excited with the prospect of this being our new Star Wars? Instead, we got The Mandalorian, which I haven't seen yet still, which it's probably a little bit different than what Lucas would have went with, I guess. Speaking of George Lucas, this is the rumor of the day from ITM. Let's see. There is the rumor going around that the one and only George Lucas, creator of Star Wars, would return to the Star Wars franchise to make more movies, but only if he has full control. This is, in a moment, heartwarming to know that he still loves Star Wars enough that he would come back and rescue his baby from, quote-unquote, his words, the white slavers that he sold them to down the river. I don't know. I really would like to see this happen, but I don't know. Why did he sell it in the first place? Let's take a look at this. Let's unpack this. George Lucas is nothing if not pragmatic. This might be pretty much his plan all along. Don't you think? Maybe the idea always was, look, nobody has given me the respect I deserve for the prequels. Now, it's true there's a lot of prequel fans like myself. But by and large, a lot of prequel haters out there. What if he said to himself, look, I'll sell Star Wars. They're going to make these movies pretty fast. Because they already, they said they were going to do a Star Wars movie every year, and every other year was going to be a saga film. So within, whatever it's been, 8 years, 7 years, we've gotten the Disney Star Wars saga, the sequel trilogy saga. We've gotten a couple of other stabs at it, Rogue One and Solo. And what if he said, look, I'm going to give the people what they want. They want a Star Wars without George Lucas. Let me show them what a Star Wars without George Lucas looks like. So, you know, supposedly here and there he was asked for his input. Supposedly here and there he gave it and it was ignored. But what if this was his plan all along? What if this was his Palpatine-esque plot? Bear with me. Where maybe he wanted Disney to buy it. He's none the worse off because he makes $4 billion, which of course most of it went to charity. I don't remember the entire particulars of that, but I'm not saying that he, you know, made more money than he did in actuality. But, and, you know, so he's not worse off for selling Star Wars, but then they make these movies, they make them without his input, they don't want his, you know, input at all, and so eventually what happens is, now they come crawling back to him. The same way that Sony came crawling back to Marvel and said, look, for all our good intentions, we can't seem to get Spider-Man right anymore. Do you want to take this off our hands? Because the Amazing Spider-Man franchise was a bust. And there was studio interference at the end of the Raimi reign. I still think that, you know, Marvel really did wrong to Spider-Man with what they've done with him in the MCU. That's a topic for another time. But I could see easily something like this happening as well, where they're going to come crawling back to George and say, look, you know, you want to give us some help and direction in this. And George would sit back and say, look, I've offered a couple of ideas and they weren't met. You're on your own. But, you know, there is always the possibility, if you give me carte blanche, if you just give me, you know, complete control, complete creative control, I can come back and make you a movie that I think that, you know, is going to, you know, get the franchise back in order. We'll have fans coming back for more. I don't know. Would this be the case? Would this be possible? I don't know. I think that, you know, did he orchestrate it like this? No, obviously it wasn't completely orchestrated. I think, like I said, possibly he sold it thinking they're going to make it without me and people are going to want me back by the end. But I don't think he, you know, purposefully was, you know, hoping that this would be orchestrated in quite this way. I do think it's possible that they, I don't know if they'll ever extend George Lucas that much creative control. I don't think they would give him carte blanche. I do think, though, that they probably would want to involve him in some capacity at some point pretty soon, because they have just fallen on their face. Now, of course, it's hard. That's what the problem is. It's hard to find an excuse to ouster Kathleen Kennedy like we all want when the movies are still making $1 billion. Now, Solo was a step in the right direction of them, you know, getting a wake-up call and saying, look, not every Star Wars movie is an excuse to print money. We're going to have our setbacks. And that was basically, like I said, Solo was punished for the failures of The Last Jedi. Last Jedi was the worst film in the last 50 years. When it comes to, you know, Solo, it was a gallant effort. You know what I mean? I've always said it wasn't a horrible movie. I think if you took away some of the SJW strange proclivities they had with the droid rights and Lando supposedly, you know, leaving it to your imagination what his relationship was there. If they took some of that falderall out, I think it could have been slightly more accepted. But again, it had still some of the taint of the, you know, Disney SJW verse on it. So let me read the copy. Let's finish reading this out here before we close our show. It was reported this weekend that George Lucas himself would return to work on Star Wars if Disney gave him the green light to do so, and only if Disney said that Lucas could have full creative control over the films. Disney and the rest of the fandom is well aware of the fact that Lucas took issue with the Star Wars films that Disney has released since the company acquired Lucasfilm. Lucas isn't alone in his disapproval of Disney's Star Wars. There are plenty of fans who think that the franchise pre-acquisition was much better. According to some sources, it looks like Disney and Lucas are willing to set aside their differences to make movie magic happen, or at least to let Lucas make movie magic again. Rumor also has it that Lucas wants Dave Filoni, the guy behind Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, to be right beside him to help, quote-unquote, turn things around. So far, there's no real confirmation from Disney and Lucasfilm, nor have Lucas and Filoni spoken publicly about the matter, but we'll let you know more information as it's reported. What would it mean for Lucas to return to the Star Wars franchise? Would we get an entirely new saga, apart from the Skywalkers, and would Lucas come up with something new that we've never seen before? We're not so sure, especially since a lot has happened in the past few months regarding the future of the Star Wars franchise. With creatives backing out of their trilogies to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series reportedly being rewritten, there seems to be a lot that Disney itself is trying to figure out. So I would say, honestly, if it were me, and I had the control of the Disney, Star Wars franchise, I would just give Lucas back free reign. I would say, here's the keys, take control back of Star Wars. We still own it. That's fine. You're gonna cut a good check, but do whatever you want with it. And if the fans don't like it, the fans don't like it. The fans weren't happy with what we were doing as it is. I think it's, and of course I would give him full rights to completely remaking the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I would say, look, we'll get back Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, and we'll try to do some, like they did with Rise of Skywalker, some chicanery to sort of make sure Carrie Fisher's presence is felt. But we'll write Carrie out fast. We'll write Leia out fast. Unfortunately, that's the hand we were dealt. It's not for lack of trying. And Harrison will probably want to be written out fast too. So we would put them in the first movie, would get that out of the way, and then you just do the rest of it yourself and show what you would have done had we not interfered. Because the scripts supposedly are owned by Disney. They already bought them. That Lucas, or the treatments, the outlines, they're already written. All he has to do is just make them, really. That's all he has to do. Would Disney do this, though? Probably not, because they have to answer to all kinds of things. Banks and investors and all kinds of crap. A lot of money being on the line makes for, very limited creative control. And I think that's what would probably sink this deal. But, because I think even Sony had their hands in the pot with Spider-Man. They didn't completely, and I could feel their influence, especially in Homecoming. But that's what it is. You would still feel Disney's influence in this. It would be difficult, to say the least, to get a full, to get a fully George Lucas Star Wars film these days. And then I'd definitely put him on the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and make a trilogy out of it, maybe, of films. Certainly let him take control of that, because that, of course, is his character. That was one of his main characters, and he should know how to deal with it. As far as Filoni is concerned, I honestly don't need his presence. He's done better by Star Wars than anybody else so far besides George Lucas. I mean, he's made some quality product while, the others have gone by the wayside, mostly. I mean, I haven't seen, again, The Mandalorian. I think Favreau has been supposedly holding the fort down pretty well. But yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. They should let him do this. And if this rumor is true, I sincerely hope it is true, that we do get Uncle George, back at the helm in control of Star Wars. Well, that's going to wrap it up. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for joining us here on the Torch News Roundup number 168. And thank you for tuning in for the Johnny Torch Live number 192. I'm trying to think. I've got a couple other projects that I'm hoping to make videos of. I keep saying I'm going to try to do a couple more projects. I don't know when I'm going to get to them. A couple other videos that should be made. But, we'll be here again next week at our regularly scheduled time here on the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on the Johnny Torch Live broadcast. So, once again, until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly and I'll be with you again real soon.